Hey, what's up, GW? Yeah, I know I'm looking a little ratty. I didn't sleep real good. It was one of those days yesterday where I put in a lot of work, ran around for most of the evening, and then, couldn't sleep. Also, last night there was a big fight on Netflix, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, which the replay is now playing on Netflix as well, which is really cool because some people cannot stay up till midnight to watch that stuff. I remember watching UFC and that thing ran till like 1 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, last video I told you guys that, I was messaged by a person on YouTube who wanted me to consider monetizing my channel. And I pitched it to you guys, as always, and I said, what do you guys think? And I would like to consider him one of my biggest fans slash supporters. My man Seth Curran actually had messaged me, and told me, you know what? Your channel is pretty good the way it is. I would be leery of people monetizing your channel. And you know what? I was working, and that came up on my Gmail, and I said, hey. I said, he's right. Because in this day and age, it's not like it was back in the day, Back in the day, you know what? You could trust people, but somehow or another that changed. And you got people taking advantage of other people for their own gain. And as I said in the previous video as well, it was never about the money for me. I could care less if I get paid a cent for this, because this is fun for me to do. And I also do it for all the people that support me and, watch me, and I do it all for you. So after reading what he wrote, I was like, you know what? No. And I wasn't really going to do it anyway, but he just kind of made me put the exclamation point down, and made a lot of sense, So anyway, so that being said, I watched a movie this morning. Was up around, I don't know, 2:30, 3 o'clock. And I watched a movie called the Chernobyl Diaries, which is a 2012 horror film. The reason that I did watch this one is because I don't know if you guys are video gamers, or if you guys know about video games, or you guys are on the PC playing video games. There is a game coming out shortly before Thanksgiving called Stalker 2. And it's set in Chernobyl and the outlying areas, in which you play a scavenger, and it's going to be hyped as the biggest game in the world. But as you guys know, in Chernobyl, there was a nuclear power plant disaster, that vacated the whole town. There's a lot of lore behind it. But anyway, it's set in that area where there's constant radiation. And I thought it would be fun, before I played the game, to check out this video, which is about a group of kids, teenagers, who go to Chernobyl, and they call it extreme tourism, where they go where they're not supposed to be, right? And the cool thing about this movie is, when I was looking at it and I was watching this video game, I realized that this thing was filmed in Chernobyl. So things you're going to see in the game, you probably are going to see in this movie, or vice versa. So I thought it was fun, before I played the game, to actually get a good layout of the area and see some of the things. And it is amazing what they captured and how empty this place is. Now, this was a 2012 horror movie, as I said, and basically, as they're exploring Chernobyl and Pripyat, I think I said that right, they are hunted, and they realize they're not alone. And does it have a dark ending? Well, yes. Yes, it is. And it's a cautionary tale to not go where you're not supposed to go. But we'll get to that movie in a second. But what made me want to watch this film is I downloaded a game on my Xbox called Chernobylite, which is basically kind of mirrors the same thing. where you're in a post-apocalyptic, Russia, and you're scavenging and you're taking on bandits and everything else. And it just made me think of this movie, so I ended up watching it. So, being that Stalker 2, the video game, is poised to be one of the biggest releases of the year, obviously, I got all involved in this. And it looked like a pretty cool game. It's a first-person shooter, stealth type action game. And apparently it was released on PC way back in the day. And they are remaking it. And it looks gorgeous, guys. It really does. And it's going to be on Game Pass for the standard version. But you can also get the deluxe version, obviously, through the store. But this was put out by Warner Brothers, the Chernobyl Diaries. And as I said, this is a 2012 release. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. I'm sure you can find it somewhere. But basically, as I said, in 1986, Chernobyl had one very, very tragic nuclear meltdown caused by human error. I mean, this is factual history, not the movie, but the actual event. People were told to evacuate, and they had less than 5 minutes to get their stuff and go. They were told they were going to be gone for 3 days. They never returned. Now, some of them did come back to loot, and some of them came back to, explore without permission, And that's pretty much what the games that I play are. You go in there, you're not allowed to be there, but now you're there and you have to, take care of business. So this movie, you guys can check out. 6 vacationers go on extreme tourism. They get an extreme tourism guide to take them to Pripyat to explore ruins of a city desolated by the nuclear disaster. Now, this is a domino effect. One little thing happens, turns into another, and now they find themselves in an inexplicably bad situation where they're forced to stay overnight. Now, one of the key things about this movie that I thought was interesting is they don't just use the setting as setting. They actually have the elements, the radiation, the Geiger counters. So they all have to take into consideration their health, and things like that. And at the end of the movie, you kind of see what's going on. Now, this deserves a second watch. I'm going to tell you that right now. Because seeing it once, you pick up things, the second time. I watched this one time, when it first came out, and I didn't remember a thing. So it's 2024, 12 years later, and I watched it again, and it surprised me. So this thing has been sitting on the rack for 12 years. And it's funny because, like I said, I don't remember anything. And it was a very, very cool movie. Let's see. Let's see. There's a lot of cool actors in here. And it was directed by Brad Parker. I do not know if Brad Parker did anything else. But he's very, very cool. Let's see. I'm trying to find the stars here. Now this movie is pretty short. And like I said, it was actually filmed in Chernobyl in the outlying regions. It's from Oren Peli. Now, Oren Peli, if you guys don't know, did the first Paranormal Activity. So, this is pretty good. This is a very, very wicked, nail-biting story, and does it have a happy ending? No, I'm not going to tell you it does, because it doesn't. But it's a very unique and I think harrowing experience as a horror film buff, because it's not gory. It's not, it's a little gory, but it's not over the top garbage. It's more suspenseful and nail biting in nature, and it's a very, very cool watch. So I did check this bad boy out, like I said, and there's so much to like about this film because it's not your average run of the mill, straight up go where you're not allowed to be hunted by a monster type deal. This is more of what's going to happen next. How much more eerie are we going to get? And I got to tell you that seeing these buildings and seeing this unoccupied space that has been just dormant since 86, there's something a little creepy about even going into abandoned buildings. And that magnifies by 1,000. And you get to see this. And I know in the beginning of this movie, when they first get to Pripyat, there's a giant Ferris wheel that has been abandoned. And it just gives you the sense that this is amazing in the scale of being uninhabitable, you know, and it's just crazy. Now, Chernobyl too has been the backdrop, excuse me, and been featured in different things. This Call of Duty games, and then Stalker, obviously, Chernobylite. But I thought it would be fun to check it out. So if you're not doing anything and it's a rainy day and you're a horror fan, check this out because this is very underrated. Now, if you get the DVD, you'll have a 2-minute video of the synopsis of the Chernobyl nuclear meltdown. You'll get a deleted scene, which doesn't add up to much, but it's unique. Now, the casting was pretty good. The acting is very, very good. And this is one of those films where they did concentrate on acting, and it makes you really believe their characters, you know? And it's always, too, there's an underlying thing is what is unseen can kill you. In this movie, even dogs are pretty frightening. So take that for what it's worth. I think it's pretty cool. And last week, I told you about Tony Todd passing away. And it's funny because when you go back and watch Candyman or you watch Final Destination, you get a sense that the horror movies aren't going to be the same. Also, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is 40 years old or 50. I don't remember. Well, 74. So 84. Yeah, it's pretty old. And Nightmare on Elm Street is celebrating an anniversary too. And it's interesting because whenever I was little, Freddy Krueger was an icon of horror. I mean, everywhere you looked, you had Freddy merchandise flying off the shelves. I know I used to have a little action figure about this big. I had a poster of him, with the glove, like that, just smiling, Robert Englund, full makeup, doing the whole thing. My mom hated that. And then 22 came along and was showing Freddy's Nightmares from 10 to 11. I can remember that because I remember playing on the rabbit ears and I could never get it in. Which I wish they would put that whole series on Blu-ray because those are some of the best horror anthology, episodes you will ever see. And it was really neat because only a few of them did revolve around Freddy. He was like more of the Crypt Keeper host type deal. Now they're on Plex or Tubi. I can't remember which one. But for a while they were very highly unavailable and highly sought after. And you could only get them through, means that I'm not going to speak of. They did put the first and second episode on the Blu-ray set of the whole entire filmography of the Nightmare on Elm Street. But they are definitely cool. Robert Englund said that he would only do Freddy. He would reprise his role as Freddy Krueger if it was an animated thing. He said he cannot do the stunts that, Freddy could do. And I would say after part 2, Freddy became pretty active in the movies, he did a lot of physical stuff, and Robert Englund just couldn't do it. So, but it's interesting to see that, you know, something like that is timeless, because that movie came out what in '84, because Johnny Depp was just starting to act at that point. He did that in 21 Jump Street, and it was neat to see that, something that is 20 years old, right? Or more than 20 years old, I'm sorry, is still, you know, still holds dear. So there's that. Also, I read too, and I saw that they are making a Terrifier video game, and I'm like going, "Whoa, is this thing that big already?" Um, it's gonna be a side scroller, if anything. But yeah, those are the interesting things that I came up with. But yes, you can watch the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight from last night on Netflix. There is a replay. There is also, like I said, check out the Chernobyl diaries. Uh, there hasn't really been anything too crazy going on. Oh, I did want to warn the local people, because I got to tell you this real quick. I didn't mention it, but last week, when I cut a video, that weekend we went to Boscov's to get Christmas lights, because, hey, you know what? It's a season, let's decorate, right? They were having a buy one, get one pair of shoes for $2. That, you might as well have walked into the LA riots at that point. Uh, we had to fight to get our way back to the Christmas decorations. And my wife got checked, I got checked, and I got pushed into a coat rack, and it was just pandemonium all over the place. And apparently twice a year that happens at Boscov's, which I get it is a great deal, but, I don't want to walk into the LA riots in a department store. It's not my thing. Now, people live for that. People get all combative and they go Black Friday shopping and they throw stuff everywhere. They're body checking like they're in the NHL. But it's not my deal, man. It's just not my deal. That's like, I'm going to stay home Black Friday, but am I going Black Friday shopping? No, I'm not stupid. And I'm not crazy. And me and my wife got out of there. And I'll tell you something else. People don't know how to drive. We pulled out of that parking lot and we're going toward our local Giant Eagle. And we almost get hit head on by a woman who's on her phone screaming. And my wife, who had it at this point, because she's already mad she can't look at winter coats, and she's already mad that, she had to fight to get in Christmas lights, which was ridiculous in and of itself. We almost got hit head on, and so she sticks her head out the window and she goes, "Hey, lady, watch where you're going, right?" And the woman just looked at her and went on the phone screaming at somebody. And I'm telling you, it gets to a point where you just want to stay home. You want to stay home because you're in control of your house and you're safe. And I got a feeling with Christmas coming up and with the deals they're trying to pull, everybody's going to try to top each other. It might be worse this Christmas than it was any other Christmas. As far as shopping, Christmas season, I should say. Yeah, other than that, like I said, I've been up too long. I didn't sleep good. I've been a little rattled. I am sore. Did a lot of physical work yesterday. And I don't know, but I just wanted to drop that video to you. Check it out. I was going to watch Dogma, but somehow I got on this whole nuclear radiation kick and it just made sense. But I do want to give one more shout out to somebody who I always say I'm going to give a shout out to and I forgot. So Rob Flick. Rob's my man. Rob works with me and Rob's a good cat. I mean, he follows me and he's always nice. Him and Justin Mays, everybody that I've mentioned. Connor, I haven't seen you in a while. Where are you at? Janice, Casey, Emily. And these are the people that, I could have a really crappy day. And they always come up to me and they say, "Greg, I watched your video. That was pretty cool. Thank you." And it always makes me feel better, you guys. Um, so I just wanted to thank everybody that watches my channel. Becca Loge, I haven't seen her in a while. She's the reason, guys, that I actually do this, and I know I've mentioned that a few times. And if you're looking for really wicked, hardcore, gory movies, check out Underworld Subroxa. They're pretty awesome. Uh, Unearthed Video is really good. Can't really describe anything else. Haven't had a chance to really sit down and watch anything, other than this movie this morning. So maybe tomorrow I'll hit you up with something. But yeah, it's probably going to be another boring day, probably rainy like it was. The last 3 days has been nothing but a washout. That sucks, so. But anyway, again, thank you, Seth, and thanks for everybody that watches. And I hope I gave you a good horror recommendation. Or at least if you're in tune with the video games, I hope I helped you out there. Other than that, I got nothing. I'm going to drink another cup of coffee, try to get awake, and try to deal with today. Because I don't know what's going on today. I just know I'm sore. I'm tired. I feel like I've been through 3 cage matches. But you know what? I feel great. So, anyway, GW, take it easy.